huge broker, you don't even use it.
Broadcasting, so YouTube presentations.
I need to.
Yeah, I would just go, you just right click on it, and when it says you want Adobe or you and just say yeah, and then it'll go all to the video. Yeah, that's insane. Because you can't edit. Yeah.
Adobe Pro, you can edit.
Yeah, that's what I was telling him. I keep sending him stuff and then he keeps scanning it back to me. I'm like, just click the sign button on. But he's got
See,
everything.
I have electronic signature on it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or on my, well, let's say it's on my computer.
That's fine.
So I do it hard.
Yeah, I'll say it.
The last
That's the
time.
last thing I need right now. So you're a medical person, you know exactly.
Yes, yes, I do. And actually take a warm bottle like that out of the hot car
Well,
and
no,
not supposed to drink, because supposedly
he was
the
saying.
plastic into
Yeah,
the
we'll make it
water,
right. We'll make it right.
that's the late, if you read the latest sign, it's.
Sorry, I keep a case of that in my truck.
I know, I'm just,
I mean, that's my emergency fluids.
I had to read so many of those different announcements to put out there for, you know,
They're fabricated by the anti-plastics people. Just like half the other science we read. Do you remember the LR scare?
yes,
Uh-huh. there you go.
yes, I do.
Here's good for you.
Oh, yeah.
I just try to be less I'm not frustrated, so.
Since I'm living on 2/3 of the liver, I've backed down where I only have a drink maybe once a quarter.
It's funny, as I decided beginning of the month, or a couple weeks ago, I was going to join the gym about 3 times a week. So I stepped the first time I've been on the scale and gained 5 pounds. How does this work? I didn't change.
I said, that's a nifty little ring.
And somebody's at my side door. See
Oh,
see him on the
they say
camera.
Russell
I can
Wilson.
talk to him.
Okay, well, hopefully I've been.
How cool is
Is
that?
that like a Nest camera?
Yeah, and on my front door, on my side door.
Oh, cool.
That's 5 more.
Wherever I am, I can talk to him.
Do you like freaking them out like that?
We're trying to
It
lose
would
some
be, I'm glad to know that, so that I mean,
Works really well.
Does it?
that is nifty.
I am supposed to.
Plus, if I'm in bed at night, you know,
4 days.
8 o'clock or
Oh.
something, yokel comes to the front door, I can,
What
do you want? why are you waking me up? Go away.
I like that commercial, that Home Alone.
Oh,
To this guy, and I said, every time it shows that one part where he's on about the TV.
Yeah, I know exactly where
Oh,
They
yeah,
fix
that's
it
right.
out. Oh
Sunday,
my
we started
God.
Pru
I
Ranch.
still
Just
just
started
roll.
Pru Ranch.
I just kidding.
I love that movie. It's a classic.
Race,
Funny.
quote unquote, to the parking lot of the observatory.
It's supposed to be cooler,
It is, yeah.
96.
So,
Sorry, did you ever do the hotter than hell one?
oh yeah, absolutely, 4 or 5 times.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Kind of
Yeah,
gave up on it, it got nutty.
we had to provide the medical support a couple of times.
You know,
The
it
base
it
did.
really got to be a heat injury clinic because I
The
think.
hotter than hell 100 runs through the.
I thought you meant they had the hotter than hell, yard sales.
Oh,
No, I was,
No, no, this is
the
a-
Uvalde, I'm like, why are you running?
Which
No, this is a bicycle race
It's
up
a-
at Wichita
Wichita
Falls.
Falls,
yeah.
it does a 100-mile loop.
Wow.
Up around the
In August.
hills and everything, yeah.
How long did it take? Like, how long is?
Took me, last time I did it was about 5.5 hours.
Yeah,
definitely.
and it's during the,
100 miles.
and,
5.5 hours?
Yeah.
and it's
First time
during
I did it,
the
I did
heat
it over
of the
20 miles an
day.
hour,
How fast
just
were you
under
going?
5 hours.
Yeah, and it's during the heat of the day, and the base has to provide medical support, because we have a lot of active duty and retirees out there, so.
There's a rest stop every 10 miles. And the
I can
last time I
imagine.
was there, I think 7 of them were manned by hospitals.
Yep.
I
Because
bet.
they figured, you've got 11,000 volunteer heat injury victims.
Yep.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
no kidding. You could just bring your, people that's trying to learn how to be one and
That's
let
exactly
them
what they
practice.
did. They showed up with staffs of 20 or 30 people to treat heat injuries.
Oh,
all
no.
around.
Wow.
My husband turned around and he's like, well, I'm gonna do it. I said, I'll be the one stabbing you if you show up and you be stabbed.
I kept an ID
Keep it in the
bag.
family. Wow.
Yeah, I've done that 4 or 5 times. And I haven't done it recently, but
When are we gonna get
I
the
did the
rest?
100 miles every time.
I have part of it here. I'm gonna give it to y'all shortly, and then after this one, then we'll have the final one definitely before the proposed budget comes out.
Are you gonna reprint another one, or we just put these together?
Make your notes, or no. I'm gonna reprint one final one, the cleaner, obviously clean one. Yeah, and it'll be bound and.
I do have a working one, one that's not broken.
Yeah, it's dirty, don't it?
Not planning on having to use it, but you don't plan on those things.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't plan on crashing when you did the 4th of July.
But I have learned a few evasive techniques.
Oh, okay.
That's why Cynthia's already, so I just made all a copy of the time of what he's gonna talk about.
Okay.
He's gonna have a slide presentation.
These 4:30 meetings are cutting into my bedtime.
Your bedtime?
Techniques.
Well.
My beer time starts at 3 o'clock.
At 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we should already start.
Sorry. Yeah.
We should just have a nice little wrap in there.
And out there, that's gonna happen.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
The guys I know are gonna be
In this kind
gone
of
the
weather,
first 30
brings it
minutes.
up.
Yeah.
I won't see them again until
My dog was
Yeah.
it's time to go outside.
Yeah.
a lot of
The
people.
bottlenecks
I
and.
like to chill mud.
We get pretty scattered out. I'll get to a point on that ride. If I do the whole thing, I'm sure.
Just to do.
If I do the whole thing, I'll get to a point.
Now, my husband, the dogs, because my big dog
Just listen to your body. Especially after.
The problem is, yeah, I haven't been back too much. I'm probably not up to speed in terms
He said
of.
it's just too hot, so he puts a
And I
house.
get back.
Yeah, just listen to your body. If it says,
Great big dog.
guess what?
Well, my dog loves to go out and run. He wants to play ball. He just wants to chase that ball at least 10, 20 times, and he finishes it. He's just.
Yeah, we have to watch our like.
You know, they have those coolies now that you can put in the freezer.
Next thing you know, you're out there laying
Nice up, put the grease in.
The layout.
There might be ice cream in the break room, but it's not worried about it.
Yeah.
Hi, Jesse, how you doing? How's school going?
I'm ready for you to join already.
They're already getting to you?
Yeah, well, I only got one bad class, but I'm getting tired of the, we know how to do it.
Yeah.
And here's 15 pieces of paperwork that you need to fill out to show us that we know.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? I'm working on
Your red board and stuff.
I found all the individual books, all of them.
I've been doing
How it started, so they had all of them.
And I feel I haven't done it. I know they're still there.
I'll let you, I haven't had time to go on it, but I'll be, I will be after all this stuff. I have all of them. It's in boxes, everywhere. Oh, there you go.
That's fine. Thanks for you. Okay, today this chair is like.
Get my old, other budget. Yeah.
I have a copy here that I brought.
I brought copies of the manual to be distributed.
I don't know. I don't do that because this chair makes noise.
I felt really good about it.
Maybe you left me.
It's not officially distributed yet, so I should.
What is your,
What? Which one are you laughing at? I'm sorry. I didn't catch it.
draft agreement on the swimming pool?
We actually have it back because we met with Habib and Darren, and we made some changes. And Habib just recently he sent it back to us yesterday, and so we'll make sure with all parties that we're good to go. So hopefully by this meeting that we'll have the actual agreement ready to go. But we have it.
Not immediately, like, you or somebody else? Your semester just started. Oh my gosh. I'll pray for you.
You know, then, on the tree ordinance, the tree ordinance, we revoked the whole thing.
Oh, really?
6 months. It's completely revoked.
So we don't have one right now.
Well, we never really went back and cleaned up the battlefield. We just simply voted to revoke the ordinance. We need to dig it up and get the minutes from the meeting. You remember when we revoked the tree ordinance?
Yeah, and Habib's supposed to send us one.
If we even get an ordinance, because we did our ordinance, we revoked it, but we didn't do it all.
So it's technically still there, we just gotta go back and redo it?
Yes, I just gotta get an ordinance.
And I think the new planner, that contract we're gonna talk about tomorrow, they'll probably do it. Along with the modular homes. Yeah. Okay. Let's start.
Yeah.
All right, let the record show that this special call meeting is starting at 4:42, I think.
432.
4:32. And everyone is here except Mr. Schuhart. Furhart. And we will hear citizen comments. Is there anyone here that wishes to say anything? Oh, you guys aren't citizen. All right, so we're going to discuss on proposed 2020 annual operating and capital budget. All yours, Leroy.
So this is, well, first of all, good evening, Councilman, Mayor. This is just a continuation from our last meeting, from the last proposed budget. What I gave y'all last week was the revenues and the expenditures for all major funds and the special revenue funds. And this is just the other piece that goes with it, the compensation plan, and along with the comprehensive fee schedule. And so if we can go ahead and start on the compensation plan, there's a few things that I would like to recommend, possibly changing for discussion, perhaps. The first thing is, since y'all last week y'all had approved the $13 change to $15, so obviously I made that change on range 101 and 102 to reflect the new change. So that's $15. What you see highlighted in yellow, just from this point forward, are changes, recommendations that we'll be discussing. We went ahead, I know there's been talk about hiring a code compliance officer. And so we put that position there along with the animal control officer under 103, if I can see that. And we'll definitely have a job description to share with you once as we're getting closer to perhaps hiring that position. Range 104, during Mr. John's presentation, he had talked about requesting additional, assistance, getting, with Kathy, kind of moving her more in the, what capacity level would you recommend, or were you wanting to use her in, John?
Technical role, assisting the public works, and then as well as packing equipment.
Okay, and then you would want someone, this new position would be like just somebody there, like a receptionist, just answering the phones, people coming in, greeting them and so forth, right? Okay, so that was in your budget that you presented a couple of weeks ago. So this position here, what it would be is the new person coming on board, if y'all approve it, not tonight, this, again, just for discussion, she or he would say under administrative assistant, under 103, and the new position that John's referring to, or not the new position, the new change that he's referring to is under 104, which is under technical services coordinator, and that would be Kathy's position, moving Kathy over to this position here. And right now, Kathy falls within that range anyway, as far as pay is concerned. So, under 105, looking at Parks and Recreation Manager, there's a change in title, and it kind of goes more along under 106 because that position falls within that pay range there, from the minimum to the max. And so right now, that position is over that, so it made no sense to keep that position there. So we recommend moving that position down below to 106 to be in that pay range. So the other one thing that as I'm looking at in the finance department, finance takes care of HR is one component, but also looking at our finance clerk, which is Hilda, and she's here. Right now, Hilda takes care of most, or pretty much all the accounting along with HR. And so I want to move that one position over from 104, because I have two finance clerks. I have Beck Sanford, who does accounts payable, and Hilda. I want to move Hilda over to 106, and because right now she falls within that pay range under 106, and have her, the title would be accounting manager, because she would take care of all the accounting, again, along with the HR duties as well. And because right now where she's at under 104, she doesn't fall within that pay scale. She's out of that box.
Where's Beck? Which one?
Beck is under 104 in the finance clerk. And then, of course, moving from the Parks and Recreation Manager over, moving him down to 106, the Parks and Recreation Director. That's who we have now. And so that change was made during the year, so I want to keep it consistent. And again, that position would fall within that pay range there.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Parks and Rec still falls underneath Public Works, right?
Yes.
How are we having a director under director?
Well, during the org, I'm working on the organization chart now, and so working with Mayor, we have a couple of different options that we're looking at. So as far as with John, because yes, it did make sense to have two directors under a director.
That's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because right now.
Right. Yeah.
Let the record show that Mr. Shearhart showed up.
Whatchamacallit?
At 4:38. We're talking about positions in the scale.
But we are addressing that, Ms. Martinez. So,
Okay, because, you don't have a director under director.
Right, we're aware of that, yes, ma'am. Under 107, right now we have Community Development Coordinator. As Ms. Brianna was coming into the position, we had talked about putting code compliance under that realm, under that category. And having discussion with prior, administration with Mr. Elliott, we had talked about making that position once, after the budget starts, making that position a director position and putting the code compliance underneath that one area. And so right now, it's Community Development Coordinator, still falls within the pay range, is changing the title from coordinator to director. And of course, deleting that finance manager piece out, because we don't have a finance manager. So I'm going to get rid of that. And then if you go to the next page, under 108.
Hold on, why is Community Development Director under the Airport Management?
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, that's just the pay category, never mind. Okay.
Under 108, right now we've had an Economic Development Director. We don't have anybody in that position now, and that's not one that we had budgeted for this coming year. So my recommendation obviously would be to go ahead and delete that, or remove that one title from that category there. And then of course the last piece would be under 111, which would be the Assistant City Administrator. We no longer have that position here. And so one thing that it was brought to my attention is, okay, where is the actual city administrator going to go? So definitely we would replace the Assistant City Administrator And at 111, it would become the city administrator. So,
That's usually a contract.
right, and sometimes I've looked at I've researched other places, they don't have them on the pay, he or she on the pay scale, it's totally separate, or we can add them on the pay scale. It's just,
I've got a question. Is it all right to ask? We have a police chief, and we have other police officers, but we don't have anybody designated as a deputy police chief or a captain or something that indicates
Somebody
an
like
assistant
one.
to the chief.
okay.
Should we have such a category, and should there be somebody in the department that holds that title?
I think the lieutenant is like the second in command, and that's under 107.
When I did my ride-along with them, I was told that Jackson was supposed to be promoted to captain, but then it got put on hold once everything that occurred. So I don't know how long that's going to be on hold, or if that may be something we want to look at.
Sure.
Depending on how stuff shakes out.
Okay.
So the police lieutenant, could we add a slant and say deputy police chief or something to indicate that that person is the deputy, the designated deputy?
We can.
You're talking about promoting the captain. Do we need a captain and a lieutenant in this small of a force?
There's a ratio formula we have. I don't have it with me, but there is a ratio.
I guess it's chief, then.
Chief, and then there's something, captain or lieutenant, but I mean, do we need both positions?
I would think that whoever is second in command is second in command, so.
Right.
As long as you,
And I don't care what he's called.
yeah, we
but I-
associate the word deputy chief with somebody, with some position.
And this would be the time to, make the change. So, I mean, if y'all, right now, again, we have the police lieutenant. It's up to y'all. How
You'd call him the lieutenant, deputy chief, or captain, deputy chief.
And that is our interim chief currently.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So is this going to change salaries and everything?
No, I mean, as far as job duties, I mean, the lieutenant's obviously the lieutenant. I mean, it wouldn't really change any
But
additional.
legally, we could change it? I mean, he doesn't need certain requirements.
I can check with TML. But what recommendation would y'all want to see there? Just-
I don't know.
Add that title to the lieutenant.
It's a moving target.
Wouldn't be a separate position necessarily.
I think that's a moving target, because when we hire a new chief, we don't know what's going to happen, so.
We can always come back and, revise this, amend this, if you like, and wait for the new person or whoever it is. To
I
say,
think
hey,
that's
I
a-
want an assistant under me, or
I want it to be
lieutenant.
titled this.
Right.
Okay.
What do you think, Chris?
I'm happy with that, as long as you've got it associated with somebody,
Right.
some position.
Sure. Do y'all have any questions on the compensation, the titles? I mean, I have some notes down as far as the director, two directors will definitely make that change, Ms. Martinez, so thank you for that. These other ones that are in red, we're going to delete. I wanted to show you before I deleted them. And then, of course, the ones that we wanted to add really is the county manager, the co-compliance officer, and the technical services coordinator.
I'm happy with removing salaries we don't need to be paying, absolutely.
Yes. One thing that we, under finance, we did keep the HR manager. We didn't budget any money for it this coming year, but it's there just in case we have to come back and hire an HR person. It's already there in the scale under 107. And then also under 106, the accountant. Those are those two positions that we're not filling those. So it's there, but there's nothing budgeted for this coming year.
You
Y'all
good?
y'all good?
I have no questions at this time.
All good?
So the next, okay, so under, I guess, go a few pages, under the comprehensive fee schedule. So I met with staff, management staff, a couple of weeks ago. We talked about, we reviewed this, and some of them had some, oh, yes, sir.
Can we go back to the previous page?
Sure.
Part-time employees?
Sure, yes, sir.
Do we have what we're going to need when we finally get around to getting the swimming pool, moving toward some resolution? Is what we're going to need in this schedule?
As far as like additional personnel,
I mean,
or
I'm asking the question because I haven't seen the agreement. I don't know what's going to be in there.
I don't
We
think it was
haven't
called for
finalized
additional
it.
personnel, was it, Devin?
It's not finalized.
Do you envision us needing to add any positions to this part-time employee list?
We can cover it till October, and then after that, it'll be the management company.
So no additional.
So we should be good.
personnel.
At this point in time, no.
So after October be next fiscal year, we'd be limited to what's on this page.
Yes.
Okay.
And because we're not providing anything to the management company, so.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you. So under the comprehensive fee schedule, anything that you see that's highlighted in yellow are some changes that we're recommending. And staff is here to kind of go discuss it further. The first one is on page 126. And that's under the plat recordation. I guess that's how you say it. Brianna, do you have any, I guess these are required, correct? On like 126 and 127, these are the ones that we have brought to council for approval?
Well, the first one, the flat recreation, that I think for some reason it was just out of the fee schedule, but it's on the one that's online, that people can look up online. So I don't know how it got out of this fee schedule, but it was the one that's online.
Okay.
And then on the second page, on 127, that's the one that we just approved on this past Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah, so those are just the additions to this fee schedule.
Okay.
And also on page 3, actually, and that wordage just changed, but that was also approved on Tuesday as well. Sorry, not page 3.
Okay. So after page 128, the next thing that we're recommending for changes or deleting is on page 132, and that's the airport. That was space number 108, correct, David? Why are we deleting that? Or what's your recommendation?
Keith's office.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. We're not going to charge.
Right. I had to pay myself for using my office.
Okay. That's right. So that's space 108. Okay.
I forgot to mention, is the drainage fees in the utility, we were going to change that to stormwater. I just thought of it now. You write that down so I remember.
Just terminology?
Yeah, because our drainage right now is kind of paying back the debt, so. we had a-
Under page 133, it's for library. When Angela had presented during her budget meeting, one of the first ones, she had talked about adding a $10 fee per household for, I guess, residents that reside.
Reside in Medina County, but still we offer free cards for Medina Independent School District.
Okay. Because right now they're not getting charged, correct? They're not getting charged right now?
Right now, we're not charged.
Okay. And then your other recommendations is just the copies, the 8.5 by 14 and 17. Okay.
It's a real easy price for
Um,
copies. I pay a lot more than that.
On page 130.
Go back to the
Sure.
airport for a minute.
Sure.
These hangar fees that are shown here, are these based on last year or next year?
These are based off our current, what we're currently charging. We didn't really make any
So there's
recommendations.
no changes from the current year to what you show here?
Correct.
Aren't we supposed to tie those to the consumer price index?
Is this a good time to discuss?
Sure, no, this is the time. So
Because
these are just.
I'd like to share some information with the council. I've been looking at the subject of fees for hangars for a long time. I've got a lot of information that I collected from members of the Airport Advisory Board over the past few years, as well as current renters. And I've also gotten information from David. And it appears that we have been fairly inconsistent over the last 4 or 5 years in how we calculated the changes. In our lease agreement, it says very simply that we just adjust the lease by the amount of the CPI. But it doesn't really give you any leeway or direction. We don't know whether it's the national CPI, the Texas CPI, the Southwest region of Texas CPI. They're all different, and so we need a little clarification. Also, when you look at the subject of, if you're an airplane owner and you're looking for a place to put your plane, there's more that you want to consider than just the number of square feet that you're renting. Do you want a side on the building? Do you want to have security? Do you want to have a bathroom? Do you want to have a place to park your vehicles? There's lots of other questions that need to be asked in the process of leasing a hangar. And I would like to suggest to the council that this is a good approach to leave these rates for next year as they are right now. We've already made a decision in the next year that we're going to have a full-time airport manager, and we have someone that's very well qualified, probably better qualified than most of our previous airport managers, who can go out and help us to formulate a better methodology for a more fair rent structure that takes into consideration more than just square feet. So I for one, am happy that we're not raising them, although I was a big advocate for raising them last year. But I believe that over the last 3 or 4 years, we've raised them more than the CPI has gone up. I know we have for the 3 commercials. We've raised them way more. So I'd just like to suggest for your consideration and that we just leave it like it is for this year and get David to bring us a whole new plan that we can consider and vote on how we're going to do leases.
You do bring up a good point as far as with the CPI index. That I would want some feedback as far as, are we going to be using the state, the national, which ones we can remain consistent for all other, planning. And so I think right now it's just kind of been back and forth. And so I think we need to pick one, go with either San Antonio, go with Texas, or national. I just need some.
The other thing we have to consider is where we stand. It's hard to compare Castroville because there are not 5 or 6 comparable airports within 50 or 75 miles of Castroville. There just aren't. There's a lot of airports, but they're not comparable. To get comparable airports, we'd have to go out quite a ways further. And then we have the problem of South Texas has the Permian Basin, or the fracking, and it really elevates the aviation cost compared to the rest of the country because there is so much commerce that's aviation oriented in South Texas that it inflates the regional rate. And we're sitting right at the top of the South Texas regional rate, which really doesn't make us compatible or comparable to Hondo, for example. To lease a hangar in Hondo, the same exact size as one we have, we're charging $100 a month more than they are. So our rates could be, I think we could do better. We could become more competitive, and we could become fairer to the city and the leasing if we had a better system. And I think David could give us that next year. Thank you.
Thank you. On page 134, this is the Parks and Rec. Devin, you want to explain the additional charge, the $50 charge?
What I was proposing to bring to council is an increase of a monthly charge for electrical utilities to our people staying longer than a month. Based on the information I've seen and collected on utilities, we pretty much ruin our revenue by this amount of time just because of the ongoing cost of electricity for the heating or the cooling of the RVs. Another recommendation would be to meter them all. I know they are set up. It's just a lot to take in, a lot of check-in, a lot of that stuff, which would call for more man hours. So this was just the easiest thing that we could do to probably increase our revenue by 20 to 30% to really help alleviate the cost of electricity to our RV park. Yes.
David, would smart meters alleviate some of that man hours?
Yes, they would. I believe in the last few years they replaced some new meters, or actually put meters on them instead of just the master meter. So we have the capability. It's just
Okay.
It doesn't, it's not like our normal meters where they check once a month, they have to check in everyone per month.
Right.
Yeah.
Run out there and read the meter. That's a lot of effort. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Are these our current rates, or is this what you're proposing?
No, these are our current rates. It was just highlighted because both of them will fall underneath the $50 a month. That way we don't have to also go and confirm with people 30 versus 50 amp. But I looked at some of the surrounding areas, and either the two options that I see if they do offer an electrical rate, it is either they meter the unit and then send them a bill, or they have a $50 surcharge that they add during this time period.
Oh, just during the summer months?
Yes.
So that's what you're proposing, $50 increase on each one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not an increase on it, that's just a monthly, that'll just be charged to their bill when they come and pay monthly $50 utility cost increase, not on
Just
top
a
of it.
flat rate?
Our electricity doubles if not triples during the summer.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
so-
didn't read far enough down. Okay, I see it now. March through September.
When we revised these rates a year ago, and we came up with the monthly $425 for the 30 amp, that included $3 a day electricity, $90 a month. Of that 425 was electricity. And the 485 included $5 or $6 a day for electricity. So what you're saying is we didn't plan for enough, and now we're going to put a surcharge on top of that.
Well, based on the information I saw in the packet and the presentation, I wasn't here when the rate was set, but based on that information, a lot of it was adjusted based on monthly, weekly and daily to help accommodate some of the utilities. And I understand how it's split up, but we have people that maybe 5 or 6 a month that stay daily, and the rest are all monthly. And I looked, and we're still competitive with other units because some of the surrounding ones, which I do consider ours on the nicer end, some of the amenities aren't as key as some of the others, but it is nice location-wise and secluded. But we still will be competitive. And I have reached out to a handful of the residents and asked them, I mean, is this uncalled for or unheard of? And they said no. Because sometimes we'll go to places and get $200 electricity bills. So, I mean, it just depends on your guidance. It's just a suggestion that I wanted to bring because I saw the loss of revenue and the opportunity we have to at least make it so that we're not losing that much money through the RV park.
So they would pay the 485 as an example, plus the $50 from March to September, right? Okay.
We will have options if there is a few people that come in and ask, oh, well, we have solar panels, as long as they're not interfering there on the top. I mean, they're more than welcome to unhook from electricity and do that. This is just the most straightforward option I saw.
When you're calculating, when somebody comes in and says, okay, I'm going to stay the month of March, so I'm paying an extra $50 for my site, is that $50 put into the accounting system as a utility fee, or is it rental fee for the RV site?
It will probably be put under a separate line item for utilities, just because we have that for a few other things, like our returns and stuff like that for the city, like when people have their cleaning deposits and they give them back. That way we can show that that was the amount of money, so it's a little bit more, we're trying to make it a little bit more transparent and a little bit more categorized, that way the council can see too. So I mean, that's a great idea, I hadn't thought of that, but.
Well, I'm just wondering how you're going to be able to say how much money you made in the RV park if you took part of the money they paid and put it in utilities. It seems like you'd want to put it in the RV park revenues, so that you have a better picture of your revenues.
Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, we separate all of the revenues that we have inside the RV park when it comes to dump fees, the camping, the RV space, both 50 and 30. And so we separate it all so that we have factual information. So I think that that's a great suggestion.
Any other questions about the comprehensive fee schedule? Again, these are just recommendations.
I have we know that we're redoing our waste contract, so those fees are gonna be changed.
Well, if we do it by this month, yes, ma'am, but if not, I may have to, once we do get a change, we have to go back and either revisit
Yeah.
and amend this change.
And then
Yes.
there was the tree ordinance, which we're working on, but I don't think we're gonna have all those fees, so that's gonna be another one that Brianna will bring back to us, right? And there was one more in here, I can't remember what it was. Sorry. No, I think it's all good. Oh, yeah, I had a question. There's a rent on, where is it? Okay, the printing fees on 130, those are for maps. What are those for?
What are they for? Or-
Yeah, 130, it's printing fees for the inspection.
Copies of maps or-
Anybody,
They are.
the
Yeah.
maps?
Public Works has a special cleaning printer, and that's what they charge the people for.
Okay,
So those are
the-
for copies of maps that they're requesting, because you do have that big printer to print.
It's called a plotter.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
That covers the cost of that thing? I know it's huge. Those fees, they're good?
How often?
I mean, I think the whole done the most part, about 13 since I've been here.
Well,
so
we're not
it's
making any
much.
money on it, we're breaking even.
But it's expensive to do that.
Those are
Well,
big
some of these
maps.
fees are set by state.
Really?
Yes, sir.
The-
Just like the copy up here, we can only charge 10 cents. And that's for the paper and.
So that's where you got your fees from the state?
I'm not sure where this is.
Oh,
These were
These were from the state?
These were set. I mean, were these from the state or they were already set?
For certain sizes, we have to go out and figure out the cost on it, and the state, allows so much, but yes.
So we can't say it's proposed. These are required.
As far as the regular copy, on the very front of it, that's as much as we can, yes, charge.
Okay, so they're not proposed. We can't fool with these.
On these printing
Those
fees,
not.
we can go back and double check to make sure that
Okay,
these aren't
good, thanks.
required, like, part of the state fees. If they are, we really can't change them, but if we can, certainly can come back and amend that, so.
And then page 139, real fast, rates for roll-offs. So the delivery fee, the rental fee per day is $612. What does that mean?
139.
Because you've got your container fees, but I don't know where that $612.
Are these waste materials
John,
roll-offs, or?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Okay.
Johnny, do you know?
So
about
that's in a-
612? No, I'm not sure, Mayor. We can. I'll
Okay,
make
if you
myself a
double
note to
check
look
that
into it.
one.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good, thank you.
One thing, if you can go back, I apologize, on page 120, it's the second sheet at the very beginning. Ms. Martinez, earlier you had asked about, does this position report to Public Works? Part of it does, streets does report to Public Works, but the Parks and Rec report to City Administrator. So it's kind of like a split.
Where's that at again?
On page 120, the very beginning.
Underline
Under
107.
Under 106.
Oh, 106.
Parks and Rec Director reports to City Administrator, but the streets reports to Public Works. So we certainly, that's a little, I mean,
That was changed a few years ago. It used to be all under public works.
Yeah, that's why I was asking,
Yeah.
because last I heard, everything was under Public Works.
Because the new city administrator may change it.
So if the new city administrator says they belong under Public Works, then that person will need to become like a superintendent or something like that for their
Okay.
job title.
sure, okay.
And for more 125, when, I know, Brianna, we had to change the waiting time and all that kind of stuff. It starts at a certain time for your permits. Is that affected by 125 where it has extension of time to be waived by the city administrator, postponement? Or you want to go back to that? Just check it.
I'll have to check it, because
All
I'm
right.
not sure what that,
So
that
if,
relates to.
yeah, because I don't know, if- that new legislation will have anything to do with it. So we'll come back to that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, okay.
Any other questions or recommendations, comments on what was presented, or?
All good?
Do you have any other questions, or anything else, any budget-related questions, or? I know next Tuesday we have our first public hearing on the tax rate, so looking forward to that. And I'll definitely have a PowerPoint ready to go, just so people can see. And if not, another question, that's all I have.
Nothing? We're good?
Will we have the whole budget
Yes.
before the first public hearing?
Before the proposed,
Tax rate hearing.
public hearing, yes, sir.
Okay, good.
I will try my best by Tuesday, but if not, it will be soon after that.
What kind of format were you looking at to put that out in? Is that going to be printed or a spreadsheet?
It should be printed.
It'll be printed, it'll be
Okay.
bound with, it'll be nice and bound color, it'll
Okay.
be like your copy,
Okay.
so yes.
Okay,
And then we'll
very
definitely put it on, right now, the proposed budget is on the website, so,
And the budget hearing is not until the 17th. The budget hearing itself is not until September 17th.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all.
Thanks, Leroy.
Yes,
We're
sir.
good? All right, let the record show that somebody's going to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have adjourned. Thank you, 5:05.